Respect is one of those things we all talk about but rarely stop to truly understand. For men, respect isn't just a word. It's the emotional oxygen that fuels their sense of purpose and confidence. It's not about dominance or superiority. It's about being recognized for the effort they put into the world, for the quiet battles they fight every single day that often go unnoticed. When a man feels respected by the woman he loves, it changes the entire rhythm of his life. He stands taller. He speaks with more conviction. He dreams bigger because he knows there's someone who believes in him, not because she has to, but because she chooses to. Men are wired to build, to protect, to create, to contribute. It's part of their inner framework. And when a woman respects that drive, instead of trying to reshape it, it's like pouring fuel on a fire that's meant to burn bright. Respect doesn't mean agreeing with everything he says. It doesn't mean silence or submission. It means seeing his intentions even when his execution isn't perfect. It means recognizing the effort behind his actions and understanding that his need to lead or decide isn't about control. It's about wanting to contribute something meaningful. You can tell when a man feels respected. There's a shift in his energy. He's more open, more generous, more protective. He becomes a better listener. He starts thinking long-term, not just about himself, but about the us. It's because respect is the gateway to trust, and trust is the foundation of every thriving connection. When a woman looks at her man and says, "I believe in you," even when things aren't going his way, that belief does something remarkable. It reawakens his strength. It tells him he's not alone in the struggle, that he's still worthy, still capable, still seen. You see, the world often challenges a man's confidence. Every failure, every rejection, every criticism chips away at that inner armor he spent years building. The woman who can look past the armor and still see the man, his effort, his character, his dreams, that's the woman who captures his soul. Because in a world full of judgment, she gives him understanding. In a world that questions his worth, she gives him faith. That kind of respect doesn't just make him feel loved, it makes him feel alive. And here's the thing, when a man feels respected, he gives back tenfold. Respect ignites admiration. Admiration ignites loyalty, and loyalty builds unbreakable bonds. A respected man doesn't just stay, he invests. He starts thinking, how can I make her proud? How can I protect what we're building? That's when he evolves from being simply a partner into a pillar. Respect transforms love from a feeling into a legacy. But respect has to be mutual. It can't be demanded. It's cultivated. It's born from patience, curiosity, and empathy. It's built in those moments when you listen without trying to fix him, when you let him breathe instead of forcing him to perform, when you recognize that behind his silence might not be distance. It might be pressure. When he knows you see the man behind the mistakes, he begins to rise. And when he rises, he brings the relationship with him. Every great man in history had someone who respected his vision before the world did. That quiet, steady belief was often the unseen power behind everything he achieved. And in everyday life, that truth doesn't change. Men fall in love with women who make them feel respected because it reminds them that their existence has meaning, that their efforts matter to someone who sees their heart, not just their flaws. At the end of the day, respect isn't about titles or roles. It's about energy. It's about how you make someone feel about themselves when they're around you. For men, that feeling of being respected is everything. It's what gives them the courage to keep building, the strength to keep fighting, and the peace to finally rest in love that feels like home. Because when a man feels truly respected, he doesn't just love harder. He becomes unstoppable. Admiration, it's one of the most powerful emotional currencies in a relationship. You can feel it when it's there, and you can sense the void when it's missing. For men, being admired isn't about vanity or ego. It's about validation of purpose. It's that deep, unspoken acknowledgement that says, I see what you're trying to do, and I believe in the man you're becoming. When a man feels admired by the woman he loves, something profound happens inside him. His drive sharpens. His confidence expands. He doesn't just exist, he excels. See, most men walk through life constantly trying to prove something, to themselves, to the world, sometimes even to ghosts from their past. They're told to be strong, to succeed, to lead, to build. And while the world often measures them by results, the woman who admires him measures him by intention. She looks past the outcome and sees the effort, the hours, the sacrifices, the silent perseverance. That kind of admiration doesn't just boost his ego, it heals something much deeper. It tells him he's enough even as he strives to be more. There's a subtle magic in how admiration works. When a woman looks at a man and her eyes light up, not because he's perfect, but because she genuinely sees something extraordinary in his ordinary. That energy is transformative. It's like giving him permission to keep fighting the good fight. You see, men are not driven by criticism, they're driven by belief. Criticism sharpens skills, but admiration fuels the soul. When a man feels admired, he becomes the best version of himself, not because he has to, but because he wants to live up to that image she holds of him. Every man has a story he's writing, some part of himself he's trying to prove worthy of the world. The woman who admires him becomes part of that story. Her words, her tone, her quiet gestures, they all echo in his mind during the toughest moments. When the world doubts him, her admiration becomes his internal compass, reminding him of who he is and what he's capable of. It's incredible how one sincere, "I'm proud of you," can cut through weeks of noise, frustration, and doubt. It's not flattery, it's fuel. But let's be clear, admiration isn't about pretending or inflating his ego. It's about authenticity. It's about genuinely appreciating his efforts, even the small ones. It's telling him, "I see how hard you're trying," or "I believe in what you're building," or even, "You inspire me." Those words carry a kind of energy that no material reward can match. They touch something primal, something human. Because underneath all the logic and ambition, every man wants to feel that who he is and what he does matters. And something fascinating happens when admiration flows both ways. It builds momentum. The man feels seen, so he gives more. The woman feels cherished, so she receives more. It becomes a beautiful cycle of growth and inspiration. That's when a relationship stops being just emotional comfort and starts becoming a launch pad for both people to evolve. Admiration turns love from something sentimental into something generative. It gives it motion. It gives it life. Men don't just crave admiration for grand achievements. It's often the little moments that mean the most. When she notices how he handles stress with composure, when she appreciates his consistency, when she acknowledges his courage to keep trying. That's the stuff that sticks. That's the emotional gravity that keeps him anchored, even when everything else feels uncertain. Because in that moment, he's not just being loved for what he provides, he's being admired for who he is. And there's something incredibly inspiring about what admiration creates in a man. It gives him a sense of responsibility, not the heavy, burdensome kind, but the noble kind. He wants to protect that admiration. He wants to earn it, to live up to it, to make it last. That's when a man shifts from merely surviving to striving with purpose. He doesn't just wake up for himself anymore. He wakes up for the vision of what you both could become together. At its core, admiration tells a man, you are worth believing in. And when he feels that, he's unstoppable. Because love can make a man happy, but admiration makes him grow. It turns his uncertainty into focus, his fear into fire, and his effort into excellence. Because when a man feels genuinely admired, he doesn't just chase success, he builds a world worthy of the woman who saw greatness in him before anyone else did. Emotional safety. Most people underestimate how powerful it really is. For men, it's one of the rarest and most valuable experiences they can have. The truth is, men live in a world where they're constantly expected to be unbreakable. They're told to keep their emotions in check, to solve problems, to be the rock everyone leans on. But inside, they feel everything: pressure, doubt, fear, hope, love. What they don't often feel is permission to express it. That's why emotional safety with a woman isn't just comforting, it's liberating. It's the space where he can finally exhale. When a man finds that safety, he doesn't just relax, he transforms. Because it's not easy for a man to open up. Vulnerability can feel like weakness in a world that keeps telling him to stay strong. But when a woman creates that space where he doesn't have to perform, where he's not judged for what he feels, she gives him a gift very few people ever do. She gives him peace. And that peace changes everything about how he connects, communicates, and loves. A man who feels space with understanding. Those moments decide whether a man feels safe enough to open up or decides to shut down. Because when a man feels judged or dismissed, he learns to hide, and when he hides, the relationship loses its depth. But when he feels understood, when she treats his honesty as courage instead of weakness, he begins to trust again. It's easy to underestimate how much strength it takes for a man to be emotionally vulnerable. For many men, that's scarier than any business risk, any physical challenge, any public failure. Because opening up means showing the parts of themselves they can't control. The woman who makes that feel safe becomes unforgettable. Not because she fixes his problems, but because she accepts him even when he's not winning. That acceptance gives him room to grow into the man he wants to be. And something profound happens when emotional safety is mutual. When both people can be real, without masks, without games, that's when a relationship becomes unshakable. Because love without emotional safety is like a rocket without oxygen. It might ignite, but it won't last. Safety gives love space to breathe. It allows two people to evolve without fear of losing each other in the process. When a man feels emotionally safe, he doesn't need to escape into distraction or retreat into silence. He starts engaging more, sharing more, investing more. He becomes the version of himself that few ever get to see, the one that's honest, kind, deeply loyal. That's why emotional safety isn't soft, it's powerful. It's what turns love from something temporary into something timeless. At the end of the day, every man wants to know that when the world gets loud and demanding, there's one place he can turn and just be human. One voice that calms instead of criticizes. One presence that reminds him he's still enough, even when life feels like too much. That kind of safety doesn't just hold a man, it frees him. Because when a man feels emotionally safe, he doesn't just stay. He starts to soar. Peace. It's one of those things that sounds simple, but for most men, it's incredibly rare. The truth is, the world constantly demands something from them. Pressure from work, responsibilities, expectations, competition. Every day can feel like a battlefield. Men are taught to fight, to fix, to push forward, to never stop moving. But beneath all of that drive, what they crave more than anything isn't noise, it's peace. Not silence, not escape, peace. The kind of peace that comes from being around someone who doesn't add to the chaos but softens it. When a man finds peace in a woman's presence, it's transformative. It's like finding gravity in a world that keeps pulling him in 100 directions. It's not about her saying the perfect things or doing everything right. It's about the energy she brings. When she's calm, grounded, and emotionally steady, it gives him a place to rest. Not because he's weak, but because every strong man still needs somewhere to lay down his armor. A man will cross oceans for excitement, but he will build a home where he feels peace. Peace doesn't come from perfection, it comes from understanding. When a woman knows when to speak and when to simply listen, when she can disagree without destroying, when she can give space without making it feel like distance, that's when a man feels it. He feels safe enough to be himself too. Men notice peace the same way they notice air. You don't think about it until it's gone. When a relationship becomes filled with tension, criticism, or drama, a man's natural instinct is to pull back. Not because he doesn't care, but because his mind equates that constant emotional noise with danger. He starts retreating into work, into distractions, into silence, looking for somewhere, anywhere, to breathe. But when he finds a woman whose energy gives him peace, he doesn't want to leave it. It becomes his recharge, his grounding point. Peace gives him strength to face the world again. It allows him to dream, to plan, to create, to protect. That's the paradox. Men don't become stronger through constant challenge. They become stronger when they have peace to recover. And the woman who brings that peace becomes more than just a partner. She becomes his balance. Because peace doesn't just soothe. It empowers. It gives him the emotional clarity to think clearly, act decisively, and love fully. And here's something important: peace is not one-sided. It's not just her giving and him receiving. The peace a woman offers often comes back multiplied, because when a man feels grounded, he mirrors that calm back into the relationship. He listens more. He argues less. He protects the peace she gave him. It becomes a shared rhythm. Two people creating an atmosphere where both can grow without fear. Peace doesn't mean there are no problems. It means there's patience, compassion, and maturity in how those problems are handled. It means that love doesn't have to be loud to be strong. In fact, the most powerful connections often exist in the quiet moments, the unspoken comfort of knowing you're safe, you're seen, and you're accepted. At the end of the day, men don't fall in love with chaos, they fall in love with calm. They may chase excitement in the world, but they long for peace in their hearts. The woman who gives him that feeling becomes unforgettable, not because she changes his life, but because she makes his life feel worth living. Because when a man finds peace with a woman, he stops searching and starts building. Desire, it's something often misunderstood when it comes to men. People assume men are driven purely by physical attraction, but that's only part of the story. What men really crave is the feeling of being wanted, not just needed for what they provide, not just tolerated for their usefulness, but genuinely desired for who they are, for their presence, for their energy. That feeling goes far deeper than attraction. It touches something primal in a man, something that fuels his confidence and strengthens his connection to the woman he loves. When a man feels desired, it tells him he's still chosen, not because of what he can do, but because of who he is. It tells him he's still exciting, still interesting, still capable of sparking emotion in someone who knows him better than anyone else. That's a powerful thing, because in the daily grind of responsibility, of work, of expectations, men often start to lose touch with that side of themselves, the part that feels alive, passionate, magnetic. Desire ignites it. It reminds him that beneath all the duty, he's still the man who can make a woman's heart race. You can see it in the way he responds. When a woman looks at him with genuine interest, when she touches him with intention, when she flirts with him like she still sees him as the man who could sweep her off her feet, he lights up. It's not about ego, it's about connection. That spark of desire tells him, "You still move me." And for a man, that message is priceless. It pulls him out of autopilot and brings him back into the moment. Men fall in love through admiration, yes, but they stay in love through desire, because desire communicates something words can't. It says, "You matter to me in a way no one else does." When a woman expresses that kind of energy, she taps into a deep emotional circuit. It's not about being seductive all the time, it's about being intentional. A small glance across the room, a soft touch on his arm, a whispered compliment. Those moments are small, but their impact is enormous. They remind him that passion still lives here, that the connection isn't just emotional, but electric. Over time, many relationships lose that spark not because love disappears, but because desire stops being expressed, life gets busy, routine takes over, and affection becomes an afterthought. But men never stop craving that feeling. They may not always say it, but when they don't feel desired, they start to question themselves. Am I still attractive? Am I still exciting to her? Do I still make her feel something? Those questions matter more than they'll ever admit. And when a woman answers them through her actions, when she makes him feel wanted again, his entire energy changes. Desire doesn't have to be loud. It's not about grand gestures. It's about authenticity. It's about making him feel that even after time has passed, he's still the man who draws you in. It's about he doesn't just feel loved, he feels alive. Because when a man feels truly desired, he stops questioning his worth and starts becoming the man he was always meant to be. Purpose and partnership. Those two words are at the heart of what makes a man feel truly fulfilled in a relationship. Men are driven by a deep, instinctive need to build something meaningful. Whether it's a career, a vision, a legacy, or a family, they need a mission, something bigger than themselves to pour their energy into. But when that mission is shared with a woman who believes in it, supports it, and adds her own strength to it, that's when everything changes. Because purpose gives a man direction, but partnership gives him power. When a man feels that the woman beside him isn't just in his life, but with him in life, it awakens a different kind of devotion. She's not standing behind him, and she's not trying to outshine him. She's walking beside him, aligned, invested, and part of the journey. That feeling gives him clarity and courage. It makes him want to do more, not because he's trying to prove himself, but because he wants to honor what they're building together. Men love a woman who brings that sense of partnership into his world. Someone who challenges him without tearing him down, who believes in the vision even when it's still fragile, and who adds her own light to it. It's not about depending on each other, it's about growing with each other. It's about knowing that both people bring something to the table. His drive and her insight, his logic and her intuition, his structure and her creativity. When those elements merge, they create something stronger than either could build alone. A man without purpose can feel lost, even if everything on the outside looks fine. Success, money, attention, none of it means much if he doesn't feel he's building towards something meaningful. And when he finds a woman who helps him anchor that purpose, who reminds him of the why behind the how, he finds balance. She becomes the mirror that reflects his potential, and the compass that keeps him from drifting too far from his truth. That's what partnership does. It transforms effort into meaning. It's not about constant agreement or smooth sailing. Real partnership involves friction. It's how two strong forces find harmony. The right woman doesn't just agree with everything he says. She offers perspective, she refines his ideas, she helps him see angles he might have missed. And when he feels that, he respects her even more. Because true partnership isn't submission. It's collaboration. It's the merging of two minds that trust each other enough to disagree, but still move forward together. Purpose and partnership also bring stability in a world that's always shifting. When everything else feels uncertain, that shared mission becomes a foundation. It's what gives both people a sense of belonging and direction. They're not just coexisting, they're co-creating. They wake up each day not only thinking about themselves, but about what they're building together, a future, a dream, a legacy. And here's the truth: men may chase attraction, admiration, or excitement, but they commit to purpose. When a woman gives him that sense of partnership, she gives him something far more valuable than attention. She gives him alignment. She helps him channel his ambition into something that benefits both of them. She helps him become a builder, not just of things, but of connection, of family, of meaning. When that kind of synergy exists, the relationship stops feeling like work and starts feeling like a mission. Every challenge becomes something to solve together. Every victory something to celebrate together. The energy shifts from me versus you to versus the world. And that's when men thrive, when they know they're not alone in the climb. Because no matter how ambitious or independent a man is, he still wants to share his mountain with someone who believes the view will be worth it. Someone who doesn't just take from the journey, but contributes to it. That's what purpose and partnership mean. They turn love into legacy. At the end of the day, every man wants to look beside him and see a woman who's not just watching his story, but writing it with him. Because when he feels that partnership, when he feels that shared purpose, it's no longer just about success. It's about significance. Because when a man finds a woman who gives him both purpose and partnership, he doesn't just love her. He builds a life that honors her.